But why aren't women not moving forward at the same rhythm as other projects with men? So in my opinion, I think there are three main challenges. First of all, access to finances. Maybe you know already that women face more difficulties than men to access finances because of certain prejudices and even the criteria that are not equal. Personally, in my case, in Senegal, I'm talking about that, but also in Africa, about Africa in general. The other challenge is access to technology. Women are really not represented in the sector of engineering, mathematics, and science, and this has limited innovation. The third challenge I'm going to talk about is access to decision making. Women are very often not included in leadership and decision making. So, how can we overcome these obstacles then? Considering access to finances, I think we need to create special funds that are dedicated for women. Yes, I know there are certain that exist already, but they're very rare. I can talk about initiatives such as our fund, specific finances for women, but I think it's very important that we can develop these types of funds for women. Concerning the second challenge, which is access to technology, it's the same thing, really. I think it's not very complicated, but we need to promote education, encourage young women to have access to education, to go into the fields of science and technology. The third channel, access to decision making. And so what can we put in place for this challenge? We can put in place policies that will increase representation of women in leadership. We can increase networking, exchanges for women who can share their experiences and so that they can have these positions of leadership in the future. Thank you. That's what I can share on the challenges and how to overcome them.
Thank you very much for this very, very insightful introduction. I think actually is an excellent introduction to the next questions and the interventions of our other speakers. But I think we can already tell that this is all based on, experience and everyday work. I noted your points about the importance of specific financing mechanisms, education, mentoring, facilitating knowledge exchange. Can I now turn to Ade, who's a senior agricultural economist at the World Bank Sierra Leone office? Ade, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Welcome, Ade. Well, maybe you're turning on your camera. Can I ask you a question that actually can, very well build on what Sandrine just shared with us? How is the World Bank supporting this women's leadership in green and circular transitions? And maybe from your perspective, could you highlight a project or an initiative where precisely women's leadership has been central to advancing circular solutions that also deliver social benefits, such as improved livelihoods or community resilience?
Thank you very much, Fabienne. At the World Bank, the issue of women and youth is at the core of our operation. It is indeed a corporate requirement for any new or ongoing World Bank project to be repurposed to pass the test of gender tagging and inclusiveness. So you can hardly have a project without paying full attention to these core issues of women leadership and the youth. Our operation recognizes women leadership, that women leadership is central to the advancement of circular economy initiative This actually serves as a catalyst for both environmental innovation and social transformation. The bank also recognized the fact that by placing women at the heart of our community-driven projects, our host countries are demonstrating how circular solutions can effectively address pressing economic, social, and ecological challenges. In the two countries where I've worked recently, Sierra Leone and Liberia, we are implementing a number of community-based projects directed at improving productivity, ensuring targeted climate resilience, and social inclusion in these two countries. We also have other projects like this economic diversification projects and the resilience of Sierra Leone project. These are fostering circular economic principle, particularly in the plastic sector. They are looking at waste management, sustainable tourism, and new business opportunities. We have made some progress in these two countries, and I would like to relate to specific examples in this particular platform. We have the Sierra Leone Women Waste Innovation Cooperative. What do? They are in Freetown. These are local women formed to tackle waste management issues while creating income opportunities for themselves. Led by a lady, Mariana Camara, this cooperative transforms plastic and organic waste into valuable products, such as eco-bricks and compost for urban agriculture. This model not only reduces pollution and landfill overflow, but also empower over 200 women with stable jobs, access to microloans, and greater influence in local governance. Another good example is the Sanda Women Development Association. They are based in Bo City, in the southern part of Sierra Leone. The Sanda Women in Bo City began as a savings club in 2014 and evolved into a thriving agribusiness by 2018, diversifying into poultry, fish, vegetables, and livestock. Supported by SCADEP, which is one of our projects in Sierra Leone, they access a total of $50,000 to expand their poultry operation from 1,000 beds to 10,000 beds, introducing modern technology and reducing labor costs. This group has created jobs for women and youth, supported over 100 children educations, and is transitioning into Sanda Women Company Limited. You can see the transformation when women are empowered. Their goal is to become a leading women-led agribusiness, showcasing the economic impact of organized women group. Same thing in Sierra Leone. We have the Circular Forest Enterprise Network. These are women in Lover County who came together to promote sustainable forest management by harvesting and processing non-timber forest products like shea nuts, honey, and producing biochar from agricultural residues. They improve local income, food security, and climate resilience. The initiative prioritizes female leadership and intergenerational knowledge sharing, reinforcing women's role in forest governance and policy advocacy. Another good example is the Destiny Women Cassava Process Center. These are in agriculture. They are women that recognize the need to modernize cassava processing, which is a vital crop for local food security and livelihood. This women group introduced advanced method business training and microfinance, enabling hundreds of women to gain stable employment, support education, and share profit equitably. The center also addresses sustainability and seeks to expand into new markets. Finally, I would like to cite the case of Madam Miriam Mako, who is in fruit business. She's a prominent female agripreneur. Madam Mako leads a successful fruit enterprise, turning local produce into juice, jams, and snacks. Our business empower women and youth through job creation, skill training, and sustainable farming practices, while also supporting infrastructure and education. Marco's long-term visions include agro-tourism, processing parks, and scholarship for new entrepreneurs. In conclusion, these cases cited here highlight the transformative impact of women leadership in advancing circular economy solutions. By integrating environmental stewardship with social empowerment, women in Sierra Leone and Liberia are building resilient communities and setting powerful examples for sustainable development across Africa and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hade, for all those very insightful and inspiring examples and stories. I think it's clear from what you shared that, yes, there are multiple benefits for communities and the economy in women's leadership. Can I maybe now turn to Yvonne, who is a gender focal point in the Ministry of Environment of Burkina Faso? I think it would be really interesting to hear from you, Yvonne, regarding the role that policies can play in creating the enabling conditions for women's empowerment and women's leadership. Maybe you could share with us some examples of such policies or programs that have successfully created those enabling environments for women entrepreneurs and leaders in the circular economy. Can I take just this opportunity to ask all speakers to please turn on your camera, if that is possible? And then the floor is yours, Yvonne. Thank you. So Yvonne, unfortunately, we cannot hear you. At least I cannot hear you.
Ok, merci beaucoup.
Her connection is not very well, so I am not hearing to be able to translate into French.
Yvonne, I'm sorry that I have to interrupt you, but the connection is very bad and we cannot hear you.
C'est vraiment un honneur pour moi de prendre part à ce webinaire.
I'm sorry, but the connection is very bad and I'm unable to hear to interpret into French.
Je suis point focal national genre et changement climatique. Vous m'entendez? J'espère.
On vous entend beaucoup mieux.
Et c'est un honneur pour moi de prendre part à ce web.
Yvonne, on vous entend bien. Est-ce que vous pouvez juste régler votre caméra? On ne vous voit pas très bien, mais on vous entend.
Je disais allô. Voilà. Maintenant, j'ai pris mon portable. Je suis Yvonne Petroni Yamioro du Burkina Faso.
So I am Yvonne Petroni from Burkina Faso, and it's a pleasure so we can talk about what we do as women in Burkina Faso. It is very important when we're talking about climate change and the ambitions that we have locally. So there are policies that the country has elaborated in favor of entrepreneurs who are women in various sectors of the circular economy. Burkina Faso has put in place a national strategy, development strategy, that is very solid, that aims to promote different initiatives to increase economical profitability and to have positive social impacts on the environment. We have put into place a green strategy to have female entrepreneurs participate in the circular economy. We have also microcredit loans that give women financial support to start their own businesses, and this also helps the circular economy. We also have a project that gives training to strengthen the capacities of women and technical trainings to strengthen the capacity of women. We have also projects that support women. We can also talk about the legal framework the government has put into place, which encourages the value of women, and they create opportunities for entrepreneurs who are specializing in transformation of waste into commercial products. Also, we have a national strategy to manage plastic waste. We also have a project to increase the type of products we create with plastic, to increase their value and increasing the value of household waste in a way which we can increase independence of women in this association of women, which we include women in Burkina Faso. In addition, there are a lot of actions taking place in the aspects of and these projects can improve health of the public, and these political actions that are taking place, we are talking about political actions that women can take. And this is what I can say about what the government of Burkina Faso is doing and how we are supporting women in the circular economy. I'd like to thank you.
This is really interesting to hear all the initiatives and policies that Burkina Faso has been sort of connecting in order to bring together the environmental agenda, the social development agenda, and the gender agenda. I think this really illustrates how important the role of national policies are in terms of, as you explained, creating jobs and economic opportunities, but also in terms of addressing the waste and pollution challenges, and at the same time generating social benefits for communities and women. So thank you very much. That, I think, complements also very, very well the other interventions we've heard so far. So I would like now to turn to Elena. If that's okay with you, Elena, who is UN Women's Regional Policy Advisor for Women's Economic Empowerment for West and Central Africa. Thank you very much once again for taking the lead in this webinar and collaborating with us. From your perspective, and of course, UN Women is doing a lot in this space. And we would like to hear your perspective with regards to circular economy transitions, of course, and why it's so critical for such transitions to be gender responsive and inclusive.
Thank you so much, Fabien. Thank you for creating the space to have this important discussion and bringing the focus also on West Africa. As you mentioned before, UN Women is active in this space because we believe that climate change and the transition to the green economy is probably one of the major trends that are going to happen in our generation and the next. And now is the moment to act. I mean, the transition to the green economy, it's going to make economies change completely. Some sectors will grow, others will shrink. And as a result, there will be winners and losers. And we know that in the past, when the big socioeconomic transformations took place, women and girls were usually on the side of the losers. So we want to make sure that the transition to the green economy and the opportunities in terms of green jobs that will be created are this time also open to women and girls. And that's why, for example, in the case of Africa, together with the African Development Bank, a few years ago, we did a mapping of where those jobs, new green jobs, were going to be created and where women were in relation to those. The conclusion of the report was women will be able to access the good jobs that will be created, provided that we do certain things now. Before it's too late. And I think later during the conversation, we will have an opportunity to talk about the how and what are some of the things that we can do. And we're already hearing from the other panelists very good examples, but specifically when it comes to circular economy. I mean, circular economy is very broad. It touches plenty of sectors and it's very difficult to generalize. But when it comes to women's jobs in the circular economy, these don't tend to be the best jobs. Women tend to be, unfortunately, in the less lucrative parts of the circular economy value chain, whether we are talking waste, textile, agriculture. And because we are talking about West Africa, let me focus perhaps on agriculture, which is a critical sector and a sector that employs a lot of women. So a lot of the opportunities on circular economy for women are around agriculture, and recently a lot into the energy to waste to energy sector. So let me give you an example from the work that we do in Nigeria in the sector of biogas. These are jobs that are mainly led by women working in rural areas where they transform agriculture waste into energy that plays a critical role in terms of domestic and care work that women and girls do for a long number of hours every day in the region. So that's already having an important contribution in reducing women's unpaid care. It also gives women an extra income because the energy that is the surplus, they can sell and diversify income beyond agriculture. They get new skills. They become also agents of raising awareness at the community level about the importance of clean cooking in terms of all the different benefits for women and the families that come for them. So this becomes an important opportunity of employment, economic empowerment. And these are jobs that, despite not being the ones the best paid or the ones with the best working conditions, they have an important poverty alleviation impact. And I think Ade mentioned already something along those lines. And I hope we can really listen from Kaoplas and the model that they have in place, because this is not about one women-led business. This is all the women that are behind them, right, Sandrine? All the women cooperatives that are lifted by a company like Kaoplas. So there is a lot of potential in this sector through the backward linkages, to mobilize and to lift out of poverty women and entire communities. So that's why jobs in the circular economy in this particular region are important. Now the question remains, how do we make sure that women move up the value chain ladder, get access to better condition, better paid jobs, and especially how do we bring in the finance that they need to take their initiatives at scale. But I think we can discuss that later on. I think you have another question about that later. Thank you, Fabienne.
Thank you very, very much, Elena. And indeed, and actually, I think I can turn to Ade to help us a little bit, with this question. And great that you also were referring to agriculture as one of the key sectors. It's also a high impact sector when it comes to the environmental challenges that we're facing, and that the transition to circular economies is meant to address. So, Ade, can I turn to you and precisely to ask you, how do you see the role of women evolving, and what needs to happen and to achieve that shift that Elena was talking about? How do you see their role evolve in the transition to circular economy, and in particular in high impact sectors or value chains? We heard about agriculture. We could also talk about textiles, waste management, energy.
Thank
Floor is
you.
yours.
The good development is that, talking about circular economy, things are changing in agriculture, both production and consumption, and even how waste is managed. At the heart, so what's at the heart of this is attempt to minimize environmental impact by extending product life cycle, reusing resources, and reducing waste. In high impact value chain that we talk about, agriculture, textile, waste management, and renewable energy, this transition is vital for sustainable development. Within the region where I worked, Sierra Leone, Liberia, this transformation is intimately linked to the vital role of women. As major contributor to agricultural economy and emerging leaders in sustainable practices, women are uniquely positioned to drive the change, foster innovation, and build resilient communities. In the World Bank funded project, circularity actually entails little things that we do. This includes composting, water conservation, the reintegration of crop residue into productive cycle. In the textile sector, what is emphasized is upcycling, sustainable materials, and closed-loop manufacturing. Waste management leverages recycling, organic waste processing, energy recovery, while renewable energy focuses on decentralized systems and clean technologies. Women have taken the front role in these sectors, both for realizing the promise of circularity and for advancing social equity. In the case of Sierra Leone and Liberia, agri sector, we have seen women constituting a significant proportion of the agricultural workforce. They are not only laborers, but also entrepreneurs, innovators, and community organizers. Historically, women in Sierra Leone and Liberia have been responsible for raising subsistence crops, processing food. They feature prominently in the processing segment, and managing household nutrition. However, as sustainability and circularity become priorities, women are increasingly taking on roles as farm managers, cooperative leaders, and advocates for regenerative practices. Women are central to the adoption of these circular agricultural methods. They have this traditional knowledge of crop rotation, mixed farming, and local composting. These are being harnessed to close nutrient loops and reduce reliance on synthetic inputs. For example, in rice and cassava farming, women are spearheading initiatives to use crop residues for animal feed, biofertilizers, and energy generation. Across these two countries, we have seen women groups who are experimenting with agroecological innovations such as integrated pest management, organic farming, water-saving irrigation techniques. These approaches have greatly contributed not only to circularity, but also to climate resilience and food security. What do we need to do to empower women for this emerging circular economy? For women to fully realize their potential as drivers of this agenda, targeted empowerment is crucial. This empowerment needs to target specific barriers, including limited access to land, credits, capacity building, and technologies. Initiatives that provide women with training in circular agricultural practices will be very important. Financial literacy and business management are proliferating. In Liberia, for example, programs led by grassroots organizations have equipped women with skills to convert agricultural waste into marketable products, such as compost, biogas, and natural fibers. In Sierra Leone, vocational centers offer training on value addition, transforming raw crops into processed goods to reduce waste and increase incomes. Equal access to land and financial resources permit women to scale circular solutions. Microfinance programs, cooperative credit schemes, and agricultural extension services enable women to invest in technology such as solar dryers, mobile processing units, sustainable irrigation system. These investments stimulate circular agricultural value chain and empower women's entrepreneurs. Women representation in decision-making bodies, local councils, farmers cooperatives, and sectoral boards facilitate the integration for circular economic principle into policy and practice. In Liberia, women-led agricultural cooperatives have lobbied for organic certification schemes, while in Sierra Leone, female extension officers are championing sustainable farming standards. Things are changing and women are beginning to take leadership. In other high-impact sector, we have seen women artisans are reviving traditional weaving and dye techniques using locally sourced fibers and natural dyes. These practices reduce environmental impact and foster local entrepreneurship. In some communities, women's cooperatives upcycle discarded textile scraps into high-value goods, promoting a culture of reuse. Informal waste pickers, many of whom are women, they have played vital role in recycling and resource recovery. In urban areas, women-led enterprises collect organic waste and convert it into compost or biogas, reducing landfill loads and providing sustainable alternatives to chemical fertilizers. Women entrepreneurs are championing the adoption of solar energy for crop processing, household electrification, and community water system. By integrating renewable energy into circular agricultural practices such as powering irrigation pumps or dehydrators, women help build energy efficient, low carbon value chain. Let me round up by giving two quick examples. In the wetland of Sierra Leone, women rice farmers have established cooperatives to cultivate, harvest, and process rice using zero waste methods by converting rice hulls into fuel briquettes and animal beddings. These women close nutrient loops and generate secondary income streams. Training provided by NGOs have further enabled them to market organic rice locally and internationally. In Liberia, traditionally involved in cassava cultivation, these women are adopting circular approaches to processing. Peels and pulp, once discarded, are now used to produce flour, animal feed, and compost. Women entrepreneurs have formed alliances with local startups to create biogas from cassava waste, enhancing energy access for rural households. To support them, we need to take a number of steps. One, We need to ensure equitable and effective transformation. It is essential that women are not only participants, but also leaders shaping policies and practices. To achieve this, policy must actively integrate gender perspective, set quota for women representation, and regularly assess their impact on women. This is a must-do on every World Bank project that is going to pass through the board. You must show gender inclusiveness, you must show gender tag, and you must be seen to be monitoring how those are implemented during project life. Building women leadership requires targeted training, technical education, and strong mentorship network. This is the experience we have seen in one or two of our projects. Ensure women's success also involves providing dedicated funding and market access and community research hub. When we manage our grants, we ensure that we relax the criteria and the conditions for some of our farmers. Finally, cultural change will be key. Challenging stereotypes, engaging communities, and fostering youth involvement help create a supportive environment. Finally, progress must be measured through clear indicators, transparent reporting, and effective feedback mechanism. I'd like to stop here.
Thank you so much, Ade, for this very passionate statement and very detailed examples. You talked quite a lot about communities, grassroots organizations, cooperatives. So let me turn back to Sandrine, because that's what you're doing every day, working with such networks, organizations. Can you share with us some lessons that can be drawn from grassroots women-led initiatives and how they can be scaled up or integrated into broader national and global strategies?
Oui, effectivement, c'est mon quotidien.
Yes, this is my daily life, my daily work. I work with women every day, and I'm very active in the area of gathering waste in Senegal. And as I said earlier, one of the big concerns that we have today in Senegal is an informal sector. But what are these initiatives? Women are showing that they are resilient in this sector. We have the resources, and if we talk about the resources, women, they create cooperatives and they transform waste into different types of value-added objects. And we are using the local waste to create value and also revenue. Women also, in this case, they take a holistic manner, holistic view. What do I mean by this? They are creating jobs, they are improving public health, and they are improving society as a whole. All their small projects, for them, it's an opportunity to solve a problem that exists. And in this way, they have a global view of it. There's also another aspect I can talk about, and their collaboration. Women come together and they work together to share their knowledge and they make decisions together. So if we can, I guess I can talk about 2 or 3 lessons from the initiatives. Number one is the resilience that they have and the inclusiveness that they have. Now, all of that I can say, they work on a local level, and the impact of their local projects is bigger. And effectively, it's important that it's integrated in larger strategies. Several times we have said that we have to develop finances for these women, adapted for them. I think it exists. I mean, Senegal and Africa is not alone in this, but in Senegal, culturally speaking, it is very difficult for women to access finances and credit that will allow them to develop their businesses. Another way that I can talk about would be to create inclusive value-added change. It's important to connect local initiatives with big companies, and this way you can reach a stable market, and it will add value to this. And I think it's necessary to create win-win partnerships, working with big companies, with women, of course. We will be able to reach a stable market and develop better. Another point is integration on a local level. We have to listen to the women who are experts on the ground. Okay, if we want to have efficient policies, the politicians should listen to the women. Women are the experts. They are on the ground. Earlier, I said, and to add to this, we can have different platforms that can be effective, where they can exchange their experiences, where they can share their experiences. So what can we say in summary? We can have these initiatives led by the women in the circular economy show us that we can find the solutions on the ground level. They are resilient, they are holistic, they are inclusive. They have to be adapted, and it must be have value added. Value must be given to their knowledge, and we need to have a more sustainable way. What I would say, I think we need to listen to these women, what they are saying, and to transform what they are saying, and this can move beyond to a global level.
Clearly a very important goal. And I'm sure that all our participants today are ready. Almost 200 participants connected today. So thank you very much once again for sharing your experience. Maybe we've heard many ideas. We're almost reaching the end of this webinar, so I will be asking us to try and address the next questions maybe more briefly. Unfortunately, time runs. Even we heard many ideas, many solutions. From your perspective, could you recommend, if there was one priority for accelerating a gender responsive circular transition for you and from your perspective, what would it be?
Ok, merci beaucoup. Merci vraiment pour l'intérêt de cette question.
Thank you very much for this question.
Je pense que si vraiment l'occasion nous donnait
I think if we have this opportunity to recommend one action,
un cadre réglementaire et financier
it would be the legal and financial framework, and to give initiatives to include all the stakeholders to value the role of women in the circular economy, because all the stakeholders, it's very important that they connect together. The women are in the center of the transformation of the waste, and they are more active. So I think it's important to invest financially and reduce the difficult conditions that they have to go through, because women are center of these activities. We need to support them in this sense, and I think that is very important. It is very important from the point of the government to invest in this circular economy. And I think maybe financial partners, for example, the banks, they can create investment funds to support these women. And if we're talking about the financial operators, it's to promote public-private partnership that is inclusive. We have confidence of the women. They have the great expertise and they are dynamic. So big companies should really encourage and associate with these local cooperatives to value the work that they are doing in a social level and create a value chain activity. So in conclusion, I think if it's one action, in my opinion, I really think the support would be if we could have a regional project and a sub-regional project to encourage entrepreneurs, women who are entrepreneurs. I think that would be a great action. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Thanks for making this link between the public and private sector, because that is definitely a key dimension as well. And we already heard several references to the role that businesses can play, but indeed the public-private partnerships are key. Can I ask you, Elena, precisely on this point? There is a need for collaboration between development partners, governments, the private sector, so that they collaborate better to empower women as innovators and decision makers in the circular economy. Can you tell us a little bit about what you think are the best approaches in that regard?
Thank you, Fabian. I think each of us actors in this ecosystem have a role to play. Each of us in our different capacity. I think the public sector needs to provide the policy framework, and right now there is an opportunity with the current revision of the NDCs to make sure that any action that is proposed in the waste sector of NDCs integrates the priorities of women working in the sector. UN Women has developed some methodologies about that, and we are more than happy to share those. There's one NDC toolkit precisely, and also based on the experience of Burkina Faso, some work integrating gender in the LT-led. So those are some of the things that are available out there. But currently, the African Union has this African Union Continental Action Plan on Circular Economy, and a lot of countries in the region are starting to develop national versions of that. So it's important that we make sure that gender considerations are integrated there as well for the sector. UN Women is currently supporting Senegal in doing something like that. The public sector needs to invest in the waste sector. They need to create the space, the legislation to improve working conditions through better social protection mechanisms, social protection that responds to the needs of women, so unpaid care and the care needs of women need to be at the center of these policies, and then invest also in formalizing and supporting initiatives. For the private sector, I mean, access to finance has come once and again. There is finance, there is green finance. The problem is there is even credit lines, green credit lines for women. The problem is the disconnect between those conditions and the women doing the work in the circular economy, most of the time completely informally. So we need to work with banks because banks tend to, I mean, they like to say we need to make women more bankable, we need to make banks more womanable. And for that, we need to make sure that we create these public-private partnerships, bringing in development partners for blended finance that really helps de-risk these small businesses and allow access to those green credit lines. We also need the development partners to come in to invest in women's readiness. I mean, building the capacity of these women to close the gap and help them access bank finance. Green taxonomies are a new instrument across the region, becoming more and more important. For the first time, Senegal has developed a green taxonomy, and it's the first one in Africa that includes gender KPIs. So I think that's also an opportunity for us to influence the climate finance space, because as we know, there are plenty of opportunities there, but a huge gender bias when it comes to climate finance architecture. I mean, it's just think of carbon credit markets and how difficult it is for that to trickle down to communities that are doing climate change mitigation and adaptation at the grassroots level. Many of them women, many of them doing this work for free. So plenty of options, and as you say, perhaps the key lies in those synergies across actors, bringing development partners, the private sector, public sector, especially in this space of climate finance, making it more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think that was also a very good synthesis of all the ideas that we heard today, and the importance of building those bridges and promoting integration mechanisms, and the challenge of bringing in the informality of many of activities into those mechanisms. Thank you so much. As I said, time is flying. Unfortunately, we are already reaching the end of this very, very interesting discussion. So what I would like to do is invite my colleague, Maria Dotsenko, who has kindly accepted to join us today and give some closing remarks from UNEP's perspective. Thank you, Maria.
Bonjour, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and happy to see so many participants and speakers, and sincere thanks to you, Fabienne, for organizing this fantastic exchange of experiences webinar and for inviting us. And thanks, of course, to all you, dear speakers, for this inspiring and thought-provoking dialogue. And thanks to this many questions which we see in the chat. As we have closed today's session, I would like to reflect on 3 key messages that emerged from this useful discussion. Messages that must further guide our collective action moving forward. First, women are central to circular economies, but still undervalued. As we discussed, women do play vital roles in high-impact value chains, agriculture, textiles, waste management, and renewable energy, yet their contributions remain undervalued. Approach based on scientific evidence is crucial, as well as utilization of disaggregated data. In global trade, women contribute only 40% of domestic value added in developed economies, but just 20% in Africa. In sectors like you mentioned, textile, women's participation is high, up to 77% of Cambodia. Also, biogas, we had good examples from UN Women in Nigeria, but they are often confined to low-value informal roles. Also important was to highlight link between private and public sector. To unlock women's full potential, we must further invest in their capacity building, skills, technology, and leadership pathways that elevate women from participants to decision makers. Also, it was important that you mentioned green job opportunities. Women should have equal access to these job opportunities and, of course, hopefully be represented well on leadership positions. Second message, very important, is awareness raising and engagement of boys and men. Circular economy must be gender responsive to be fully transformative. According to UN Women's Gender Snapshot, 351 million women and girls may still live in extreme poverty by 2030 if current trends persist. Yet closing the gender digital divide alone could lift 30 million women out of poverty and generate 1.5 trillion in global GDP. So for us, it's not just a moral imperative, but it's an economic one. Gender equality and empowerment of women and girls is fundamental to peace development and sustainability. Thus, it's important to further continue investing our efforts on raising awareness, but also targeting men and boys and engage them in mainstreaming of gender equality and empowerment of women. And third message, policy partnership, advocacy, and participation must align. Today's examples from grassroots entrepreneurs to national policymakers show that women-led circular solutions are already driving change. These successes should be better known. They really will empower many more other women and many more girls. UNEP emphasizes the need for core circular economy indicators to inform inclusive decision-making. Appropriate human and financial resources should be allocated if you really want to have meaningful and measurable impact. The World Bank's Gender Data Portal highlights persistent gaps in access to finance, technology, and decision-making spaces. Moving forward, we must strengthen multi-sectoral partnerships, ensure gender disaggregated data utilized, and create enabling environments for women innovators who would be role models for next generation, for young people. And let us live today not only with insights, but with renewed commitment and with more energy to ensure that women are not just included in the circular economy, but are empowered to lead it. Thank you all, and looking forward to continue such dialogues.
Many, many thanks, Maria, for those very inspiring closing remarks and for emphasizing the importance of sharing stories and experience and knowledge. That's exactly why we are doing this in GGKP. And thanks for mentioning digital technologies. Maybe that could be a future webinar where we discuss how digital technologies can empower women and enable circular economies. Let me take this opportunity to thank you, Maria, and thank all of our speakers. Thank you very, very much for having shared all these really important insights and initiatives. I would like to also thank all the participants who have been connecting with us today and have been posting in the chat and in the questions a lot. Thank you so much for such an active, audience. We will be posting the recording of the webinar and all related materials. If you're sharing knowledge resources with us or through the chat, we will also share the links on the Green Forum, where we encourage all of you to register to the Green Forum and join us in the group where you can find all the information about this webinar series and this webinar in particular, and where you can actually continue the conversation there. So please join us on the Green Forum so that we build on this 1 hour fantastic discussion we've had and continue the collaboration on this such an important topic. Thank you very much to all of you, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.